country club, Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't tryna sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it. Cause that's the way it is, like it is, how I tell it. Paint a country club, Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't tryna sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it. Cause that's the way it is, like it is, how I tell it. Okay, firstly, I gotta address apologetics. It doesn't make sense, I'm not sorry, I don't get it. The fact that he was crucified means that we're all indebted. We should demand to have a culture that doesn't soon forget it. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess it. Christ is king, listen up, get the message. The time is short, the deception is impressive. The church itself is corrupted and wretched. They preach about grace, no righteousness expected. God gaze at the pulpit because the sin is accepted. The devil calls, they don't even try to reject it. They're employed by Satan, they are tax exempted. Ain't a country club, Christian, I'm a zealot. Truth's gonna hurt, man, I ain't trying to sell it. And if you think you can refute it, you'll regret it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Main Character Podcast, level 43. Made possible by the Cult of Con, that's you guys, and thank you for being here. For all of you guys who don't know, I am Con Man. I am the leader of this Kool-Aid chugging conspiracy cult. You think that you deserve it, but the bubble's about to burst. Okay, all right. What's up, everybody? Wednesday, hump day. We are halfway there. And I gotta tell you, this is my second week back on regular, 9 to 5 life. I guess I work 7 to 3 something. But yeah, definitely the middle of that grind. So I'm glad to be here with you guys. We are close to the end of the weekend. For many of you, it's the Memorial Day weekend coming up, right? So you get a 3-day weekend. Some of us do. I apparently do. I found out today. I'm pretty stoked. I'm going to go right over to the chat and say hi to all you guys. It's great to have all of you guys here. My setup is all wacko right now. I don't even know what's going on right now. I can't see. Where'd my chat go? There we go. What is up, everybody? Starting up here at the top, we got Allison M. Welcome in, Allison. And it's funny because Allison's asking thoughts on the new Pope's inaugural sermon, and I didn't see it yet. I've just been so busy. And I did mention that I would check that out this weekend. We've got Wendy in the house. Always glad to have Wendy in the house. She is the captain of the Big Blimpin' Party Blimp. And she's also a moderator for this channel, so everybody welcome Wendy. It's great to have you here, Wendy, as always. We got Pepe Sylvia. We've got Val, Party Blimp, in the house. See, we know what we're talking about around here. Let's go ahead and we'll give us the customary. You guys know what it is. Party bus. This party bus is everywhere. All right. Scrolling down here, we got Ghost Hardware. Welcome in, Ghost Hardware. We got Mad Packs. Whoa, we just got, we caught up with the chat real quick. It tries to do that to you, everybody knows. If you don't get on it, it just moves. We got Mad Packs. We said Ghost Hardware is like, it's the first time. Excited to be here. Put on your big boy pants. Get ready for some wild stuff. All right, I do have to be honest, okay? Last week was structured. You know, we stole JT's formula. And obviously, Aaron did all the work finding all those clips. And Aaron, it was an amazing time. If you guys did not get to see last week's episode, I encourage you guys to go check it out because it was really awesome. And like I said, Aaron graced us with an amazing performance from his music. And he even said that wasn't the good version, apparently. So maybe we'll check out the good version, he says, that he has on a next episode, a later episode. But yeah. Exciting, dude. Glad to have you guys here. Glad to have you here, Ghost Hardware. I hope that you enjoy this week, which is going to be totally we kind of go back and forth. Sometimes it's like we're just chilling. It's like whatever. Sometimes it gets all serious. Sometimes we actually explore, concepts. And sometimes I'm just ranting about stuff, and that's just kind of what it is. You know, it's a variety show, and I am a variety person, I guess you could say. So I do my best to stay on topic, but I'm kind of ADD brain. That's just how it works. What's up, Pearl? Welcome in. We always get a honk for Pearl. Pearl's an OG. Ghost Harder says, I'm from the UK, so normally catch this the next day, but can't sleep tonight. It's 2 a.m. here, so welcome. Yeah, it is interesting. I was going to bring that up. It's a late show, right? We're out here on the West Coast. We don't start till 6 p.m., so I know a lot of you guys don't catch it until tomorrow, Thursday. And if you're watching this on Thursday, awesome. You're a whole day even closer to Friday. You're almost there. This is your morning or daily encouragement. It's the ASMR encouragement. You can do this. You have the power within you to accomplish all that you set out to do. Only through the power of Christ, right? Because you can't have the truth without the way, the truth, and the life, and that is Christ Jesus. And so I always say we're on the cutting edge here. I think it's like a future idea thing, future-minded thing. I've always had a problem with it. I'm sure you guys have had it too, where you're trying to do things like it's year 3025. I've got like my phone on a tripod over there so I can see my notes that are irrelevant to what I'm even talking about, so I don't know how it's going to help me. But look, all I'm saying is I have in my life, and I'm sure many of you guys have, I've been accosted for being way too ahead of the game, whether it was like what I was into, or, like when I was a kid, video games made you a nerd and nobody liked you. And now all the coolest people are like millionaires for playing video games on the internet. Well, I don't know if they're particularly cool, but society seems to think so. So whatever. Look, if you can make millions of dollars playing video games, more power to you. Do your thing. I'm just saying that, like, isn't that wild, right? You find yourself oftentimes ahead of the pack when you're a truther, when you're on the cutting edge, as I like to say. And you guys know how that is. You guys know what it's like to be way ahead of the pack, and then everybody thinks you're crazy or like racist or something. And you're like, no, dude, I just was paying attention. I guess I started early. I know a lot of you guys are in that same boat, but even so, like what? 2020 was a big eye opener, and that was 5 years ago. So now we're starting to become like seasoned veterans and smelling bullshit from like a mile away. Swear jar, ka-ching. Actually, we really need to get serious about the swear jar. We got Indigo in the house. We got Crypto Grady. Let's go. Tarnation. I love that one. Amelia, good to have you. We got Jenny Murphy, and she's going hard on the Hawks. We'll throw another one out there. We got Samantha Fox. I don't know what day it is, but happy early or day of or late birthday, Sammy. I forgive me for not knowing what it is. I half the time don't even remember when my own birthday is. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something. Yeah. Thank you guys all, by the way, for all of your outstanding support over the last weekend. And, I was nursing some, I guess you would call it like an overuse injury. And it ended up turning into like nerve pinching. And I had the worst headache of my life. I could honestly say, like, I got sick to my stomach. It was so bad. And I ended up not doing Sunday service on Sunday. And I think that's like the first time I've had to like call out sick from Sunday service. So I've persevered in the past, but this last Sunday I was just not having it. I just didn't have the guts. I didn't have it in me. And so we had to call off Sunday service, which is regrettable, but we will be back next weekend on schedule. And I appreciate all of you guys for your support and your prayers and everything. It was like an amazing outpouring of support. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm sore, I'm hurt from work. I gotta chill. I don't know, I was trying not to be dramatic, but everybody treated it like as if it was really important, and that's really awesome. It shows like the unity and the solidarity of this community, which is awesome. I'm glad to have all you guys here. It really is awesome. Good to see you, Susie. Good to see you, Gwen David. Well, we got everybody in here. There's a lot of people. Let me just try to catch up with you guys. We got Doctor Who in here. Welcome in, my friend. He's our newest moderator. Fear his unlimited power. Do not insult Canada. That's my one warning to you. He doesn't take kindly to insult of Canada. Welcome in, Cruz Beck. Welcome in, Daddy Skip. There are so many great people in this community. You guys are so awesome. We got Cage Fighter in the house. Welcome in. I think we're pretty much caught up, guys. I'm sure there will be some of you guys that filter in as we go, but we'll get there. I have so much random crap I want to discuss with you guys today. Let me go ahead and try to actuate my notes over here, because I do have notes. I don't know if that's going to do me any good. Let's see where we're at. Oh, see, notes help. Okay, so I'm really sunburned right now. I don't know if you guys could tell, but like, look at my neck. I am super burned. Like, I don't even know how to explain. I'm a true redneck. So I was turning my head to show, but yeah, I'm pretty scorched up. I spent the whole week pressure washing the sidewalks and curbs and stuff at work, and the first half of the week was like overcast and cool, and I had a raincoat on because it was like raining on and off. But this particular day was sunny and nice, so I just was out there with the rain boots and a t-shirt, just doing my thing, and I got super burned. Like my arms are. I don't know. Maybe it'll tan for once. I don't think so. My English peasant genes only allow me to fry and die in the sun. There was this whole conversation going on about people were talking about you shouldn't be sunburned. There's no reason for that. Like, and I'm like, I don't know how any of that works. Like, I don't know. Do you have to be grounded or something to like draw the energy and so it doesn't burn you? I have never experienced direct sunlight for hours and not been burned. And I guess it doesn't help, right? Because I was standing in like thick rubber boots, which you could probably like grab a live electrical wire and it wouldn't even get you because you're so grounded. Indigo says, put white vinegar on your burn. It takes the sting out. Yeah, I've got some lidocaine infused aloe vera that I've already been using. It's actually really good. It works really good. And we'll see how that goes. We'll try to be careful with it. Try not to overdo it any more than it already is. It's not, I'm saying it's bad, but I've had worse. Like there was one year I burned my back so bad because it was like first sun and I was like washing my car in the sun with no shirt and I hadn't been in the sun for probably years anyway. But look at me. I'm a freaking ghost. So as soon as I get any sun, I'm probably supposed to live in northern climates where there's less sun. But then I don't know because there's like those little skinny Inuit sunglasses that those guys wear because the sun like reflects so much off the snow that I think you can get sunburned from that. There's so much I don't know. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the idea of not knowing things because then I'm compelled to go and learn them, right? I think that's part of the whole idea of this whole like cutting edge thing. It's not about knowing everything. It's about fighting to know everything, wanting to know everything. And I think that kind of brings me to where I'm at. There was a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And I always hesitate because after I've developed this like channel to the point that it's like you don't want to nuke it, right? You don't want to destroy everything you worked for, and I feel that. Like, I understand that, but I've always been the kind of guy who's like, oh, you can't be a pearl clutcher, whatever it is, and obviously, pearl clutcher, that's funny. But anyway, you don't want to be the kind of person who's motivated by trying to like maintain money or whatever support or whatever it is that you think it is. Like, because obviously the only reason I really created this channel in the first place was to speak the unmitigated truth as I see it, even if that offends people, even if that causes people that I thought were my friends to like go away and not like me anymore. And in my life, I've kind of learned that, you have to just stand by what's right. Because otherwise, then you have people that are not really your friend, and they're like pretending to be your friend. And it's like you could just you're better off to just offend people and say bye when they leave. You know what I'm saying? Especially in today's day and age. Like I started to really reevaluate the fact that there's like on any end of the spectrum, there's like super huge, like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, like big religion, churchy channels, and then there's also like huge hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers of just like godless, it's just arrogant, evil, selfish people. And it's just like, dude, if you compare yourself to everybody, you're just gonna end up feeling like people are gonna gravitate to what they're comfortable with is what I'm getting at. So you can't try to make yourself comfortable with people or make people comfortable with you. You just gotta be yourself in life. Obviously respect people, try not to cause unnecessary conflicts, but yeah, I think that what I've learned so far from doing this channel is that you can't let that pressure get to you. The pressure to like change who you are or what your message is because you're worried about what people will say or whether you'll lose some of the friends you've made along the way. And I'll tell you, it's difficult. There have been things that I've done and said where over the past few months, people who were like active members of our community were like, I'm not going to support you anymore. I just can't get behind what you're, and I've never done anything like, and I realize it's dramatic and those people are weak. So it's kind of like what I was saying to, our new buddy tonight, who is it? I just forgot. It's Ghost Hardware. Ghost Hardware. I was like, put on your big boy panties or whatever, buckle up or whatever, because I don't know what's going to come out on an episode like this. When I have something to do, then it's kind of like, yo, we're laughing, we're having fun, and I love to have a good time. You know how I am. But also, at the same time, I'm very passionate, and it's very real about a lot of stuff. What's up, GB Packers 55? It's funny. I was actually thinking about like mentioning and wondering where you were tonight. But of course you're here, my friend. It's good to see you. Anyway, what I was getting at is that I try to tiptoe around subjects sometimes. So you sometimes get an episode like last week, Aaron's mixtape, where it's just about the community and celebrating you guys. But sometimes I have to be the one who like says things that people don't want to hear, or I have to be the guy who's like the party pooper. I hate being the party pooper. Like what? I'm like the party bus guy. You know what I'm saying? Like how can I be the party pooper? But it's all based on the idea that like we have a world of truth seekers, whatever you want to call them. All the way from people like, you know, let's say it's like Mr. Ballin, who's like really mainstream, tells spooky stories, true stories, I think most of the time, unless they're being passed as true when they're not. But usually they're supposed to be true stories about real people, and they're spooky and they're scary. You get from that, and then you like work your way down to, I spent this afternoon listening to a channel that Wendy recommended to me. It's called like, Cosmic something or other. She'll probably remember what it is. Wendy, what's the name of that channel that you sent me that the black-eyed children episode for? I really liked that channel. That was cool. But anyway, you get these other, you know, still large channels, still acceptable. Haunted Cosmos. That's right. Thanks, Wendy. And they're talking about, I listened to their Bigfoot episode, and I listened to this, like, you know, people love research into cryptids and missing people, and really, like, I guess what you call conspiracy light, because it's spooky and it's mysterious and it's strange. Like Mr. Ballin calls it the strange, dark, and mysterious, and people love that stuff. And that's cool. Like, I love that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've always been into like mysteries and stuff, but we also have to have a time and place for going to the next level and being willing to talk about and think about and explore the concepts that are not fun, like the mysteries and conspiracies that normally that's where you lose people, because it's interesting and fun when it's like, oh, what dog man dwells in the Olympic National Forest, you know? And it's like, I live there. What's in there, you know? It's like, that's cool. I can relate. But when you start talking about stuff like the actual government, actual people in power, institutions like organizations, corporations, whatever it is, it freaks people out, because there's like a dissonance, not because they don't believe it, but it's because they know it's true and they don't want to. They don't want to believe the world's a dark and scary place. And that's kind of the segue into what I'm getting at today, is that there are people who are not afraid to explore the dark side of conspiracy world and the truth about like whatever it is, like SRA or like you know, whatever thing it is. Okay, there's so much to unpack from, like, is it the Clinton count? You know what I mean? Or is it like the nation with the name that, the blue star white flag country? Like, I gotta be really careful. I'm not trying to nuke the channel, but the point I'm trying to make is you can observe stuff and make observations and develop a worldview that's very dark, because it's kind of miserable the way, you know, when you really unfold all the stuff. And so I get why people are concerned about that stuff. Oh, they're doing that thing. Every once in a while, they'll like, this is going to sound like I'm paranoid and insane, but they have like the ability to mess with my display. I'm not even joking. Now, I sound so unhinged. Welcome to the Cult of Con. No, like my display will flicker sometimes. I might just need to get a new one that's enormous, so that way I can like really have a million tabs open and stuff. Anyway, if you go past a certain threshold, you become a pariah to the mainstream, right? You start talking about stuff that makes people think you're insane. And you might be right? Like, we were just not long ago, and this is one of the things I wanted to bring up, just so that you guys remember, you know, for everyone, for those who were there and for those who weren't. It was like 2 weeks ago or less. Paul was talking about the actual revelation, which is that people were talking about the skylines, right? The dispersal of things in the atmosphere via airplanes. I don't know what words you can use for that, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The chemtrail thing. I'm just going to say it. Why not? After that whole thing about, I'm just going to say it. The point is that eventually the research comes out that, well, it allows us to combat climate change and allows us with the high aerosolized dispersion of the, you know what I mean? They just tell you that what you knew back then is true, but now that they know it, it's cool, acceptable, and we're really groundbreaking. And not that long ago, you and me and many other people were like a crock pot. You know, like people with these arrogant people who with contempt against you because you questioned the narrative, right? You were like, I don't know if I buy that, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking into other things. And these people, like, they hate you because you weren't a sheep too. It's like a crab mentality. They don't like that you're not also brainwashed. And this brings me to today's example, which is that I'm not going to point at someone specifically because I'm not even though I'm operating this little tiny thing here, I'm not going to give anyone credibility for anything. Like, he's not the only one who does this person in question. But I was talking to MK Ryan, one of our mods, a good guy, member of the community. A lot of you guys know who he is. He's really cool. And we were just talking about this character who had a black pill Twitter. Like that's the ideology. That's the perspective of the guy, right? Like, because what had happened is he was on the cutting edge, right? He was researching and realizing about stuff that normal people, even in conspiracy world, they don't want to accept it because it's like, oh, it's racist or whatever. You know what I mean? Or it's if it's too dark, even truthers are like, no. And they like turn a blind eye on stuff. Everyone can find a point of dissonance where they're like, no, I'm not going to entertain it, and they won't look. You can find that. I'm sure I can find that for myself. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to just go anyway, right? To just, I have to know, even though I don't want to know. You know what I mean? Pearl asks, Connor, what are you eating in your thumbnail, though? Let me go over here really quick and touch on that really quick. That is that is the white pill for all of you guys. So that's kind of the theme of where I'm going tonight, is white pill. And I don't care if you type on the internet white pill and there's some sort of definition that exists. Let me see if I can like try to replicate the thumbnail so when I transition back it's still the same thing. Oh, I was off. It was pretty far off. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, what I'm getting at, Pearl says it looks like a white donut or a banana. Well, I didn't have a pill that was big or white. I don't really carry stuff like that. So it's actually it's the charger pod for my whatchamacallums. They're not headphones. It's the microphone set for that I use to record when I do Guys Gotta Eat for that awesome like high quality like crunching and eating sounds that come from that. It's so funny. Cage Fighter commented earlier and she was like, how are you not 500 pounds? And I was thinking that to myself, like, I actually have pretty bad eating habits. Like, that's the sound of the only beverage there is. You can even hear it crackling a little bit. Wow. Better than water. Anyway, there is only Sprite. Those of you guys who watch Guys Gotta Eat know that. But anyway, the thumbnail was just kind of my way of trying to symbolize the idea of it's a hard pill to swallow, it's big, but the white pill is the real pill. Okay, and before we get off on that, let me go back to this black pill situation. So, people who are truthers, people who are seekers, they dig deep, especially when they really mean it, they dig deep. But you start finding a lot of bad news, don't you? You start finding out about evil corporations, rituals, dark things happening in churches and in other religions too. I mean, it's not no large group or government or corporation is exempt from their evil at this point. Like, it's basically ridiculous. And there's a lot of people who I think on this, because we talked about surface stuff like cryptids. Is there cryptids? Yeah, finally, a guy who believes in Bigfoot is not a pariah. I remember being a kid watching those shows with people talk about Bigfoot and everybody else thought they were idiots. They're idiots. Like, they hate them. We're full of hatred for these people that believed in Bigfoot. Those idiots. Anyway, I know that you guys know, but I'm just trying to really make sure that everyone's on the same page. How much contempt they have for you because you thought something was possible. Not because you claim to know it or claim to be an expert. There were some guys that claimed to be an expert, and that's actually kind of part of something else I want to touch on tonight. But what I'm getting at is just that some of these truthers went so far that they turned themselves into a miserable human being. They followed all the news channels. They followed all the breaking stories. They wanted to be on the cutting edge so bad, but then they got themselves cut. And it turns into this phenomenon that people come to know as the black pill. And I think maybe it's pretty normal, right? That people go through this phase where they learn enough about how bad the world really is, and they crash. Lately, everybody's been using the term crashing out. These people are crashing out. And you'll see them, I actually had a correspondence with MK Ryan on Telegram. It was really awesome. And I kind of want to share what I said to him because I thought it was pretty good. Now, I'm not going to expose anything that he said. I'm not going to share the conversation. I'm just going to read to you what I said. But he and I were talking about this character who has a pretty big Telegram channel. Actually, I don't know if I can read this because it might come off as racist. There are things I mention in the discussion that are... I can pick and choose what lines to read. Maybe not. Okay, I'll try. I'll try to translate it to a YouTube conversation. So he and I were talking about this character who has a pretty prolific, he's a pretty big, I guess you could say, he probably posts Substack, Twitter, various other platforms he exists. This is just one of many characters, but this is a person who learned a lot about what was going on and got upset. They got angry. They got scared, they got hopeless, they got tired, they quit, okay? They became black-pilled because they believe that there's just nothing that can be done and it's all screwed and there's no hope and just it doesn't even matter what you do because it's screwed. There's no hope. That's what the black pill is, and I get it. I get why people would feel that way. I have had phases of black pillery, trust me. Anyway, so he shared with me a post from this black pill guy who happens to be an effective truther. How else did you become black pilled? You didn't become black pilled by drinking Starbucks and watching sports because the coffee's flowing and the balls are flying all over the place. So the sports ball's still happening, so they're not mad. So anyway, he shared with me this guy's post where the guy was talking about some genealogy stuff and some unacceptable topics of cutting edge conspiracy like racial histories and you know what I mean, usurpations of national identities or racial identities, etc. And the guy made a narrative that he put out, and it's I'm not going to speak to whether or not the narrative he put out was true or not. But the point is that he posted other things because whenever I see somebody declare something prolific, I'm like, what else is this guy known for saying? What is this guy's worldview and perspective? And the black pill character, I saw his next post down was kind of like an arrogant, like a self-filtration, kind of like what this kind of an episode is for me, where he was saying what he felt like. And he didn't care what anyone thought, but it was actually, I think he was taking it to the next level because what he was doing was he was trying to instigate anyone in the group who might be following him. I'm trying to aggravate you for believing a certain thing so you'll go away because I can't stand you people that think a certain way, okay? And that's fine. Do whatever you want. You don't have to be friends with everybody. But what he was after was he had this kind of smug, the exact example of what we're talking about. This is a guy who questions all kinds of narratives about the racial problems in America, about really high-end conspiracy theories about replacement theory and all these crazy stuff. You can't talk about this on YouTube. And he is on it and pushing it. And whether or not it's true or false is up to you to decide and do your own research on that, I guess. But the point I'm trying to make is this is a guy who is, in his own way, on the cutting edge. And so when I look and see somebody who's talking about conspiracy theories that are this ain't no offense, but this is no 9/11, this is no JFK, the kind of conspiracies he's talking about are high level and dangerous to talk about, get you removed from social media, get you to lose your job, your own family stops talking to you type conspiracy theories that they're so dangerous to discuss because people just assume you're hateful or evil or whatever it is, right? So he's on that. And so my assumption is that if you're on that, you must be fine and well resolved of all the other basic conspiracies. You already know about the whole 9/11 thing. You already know about the whole whatever, cryptids. You're not afraid to listen to a show about cryptids or 9/11 because you're on some crazy high level stuff, this crazy cutting edge. And so a guy like this is lambasting and attacking people for believing in flat Earth. That was the gist of the one post, where he was like finding words that were like as disparaging as possible to describe the people who believe in alternative cosmology as essentially the dumbest people that there are, and that he hates them and wants nothing to do with them. Get out of my sight, you idiots. And the reason that offended me so is because I found profound hypocrisy in that. Right? Because if you're so upset about the state of the world and the war against your race or whatever, and you're so upset and torqued up about things you're not even allowed to talk about, so you must be digging through 4chan at 4 a.m, like you've got to be on some Groyper group chats, like you've got to be doing some crazy stuff to be on the stuff this guy's on, and you believe in the moon landing? You believe in the NASA SpaceX narrative after you've been lied to by everyone? It's a giant conspiracy, as he says. It's his own words that the world is being run by it's a anti-white. It's you know what I mean? And like whether or not that's true is beside the point, but you're on that. You're like out here like posting on Maine, racist stuff posted on Maine, you know, like you're tweeting out shit that people would totally like string you up for in real life, because you're so confident that you're right. But then, and that's fine, but that's because you had to do a profound, like, turn against the current, break away from the fold. You had to become the pariah to believe that they lied about World War II and the Mustache Man. And so this guy's on that. But then he's like, he's not only a believer of the NASA Corporation, SpaceX Corporation, he's not only a believer, he's a defender, a stark defender. Like, if you don't trust it, you're an idiot. Get out of my sight. And it's weird. Like, why? Okay, here's the example. And maybe he's not the best example, but just as a normal person, right? Do you spend your whole day, any one of you, you spend your whole day like going on the internet and making videos about religions you don't believe in, that are like, these people who believe in this religion are so dumb, and like all you do is make videos talking. Like, for instance, does your belief in something make it exist or not? Like, let's just say, for instance, I think most people in this group identify as Christians, believers in Christ. But like, let's say, for instance, it's like Islam. Do you believe in Islam? Probably not. Do other people believe in Islam? Yes. Do we go around like trying to tell people who believe in Islam that they're dumb? No. Do we go around trying to disprove Islam? You don't try to disprove it. It's not, you don't believe it. What's the point? Like, I get this idea of trying to convince everyone that you're right about everything, try to get them to believe what you believe, whatever, assimilation. But the issue is, you're not going to control what other people think. So, and what I mean is that most people have resigned themselves to the idea that, well, I can't control what people think. But this kind of guy, he thinks that you need to do what he says. I'm the one that knows everything about all the truth, so you need to adhere to my version of reality, and if you don't do it, you're an idiot, and you're beneath me, and you're stupid, and I don't like you. And it's like, okay, fine, you big totalitarian, but you don't even have any continuity in your own worldview. You say, I don't trust the man, I don't trust the machine, everything's run by satanic hand-rubbing tiny hat people, except for NASA. Because the name NASA could in no way mean to beguile in the language of the tiny hat people. It could no way mean to deceive. It doesn't have anything to do with that, by the way. Crazy. And this is not a new thing, right? So what I'm getting at is there's two problems here. Major hypocrisy, right? Like, you can't be the guy who's like, I'm a seeker, but not you. You're wrong. You know, it's so dumb. It makes everyone who's a truth seeker look bad, right? But then you get people like that are just negative. And look, I get it. I am critical. I am cynical sometimes. You know, I get it. I get why people are that way, but it doesn't make it right. Okay, like, so there's plenty of things in the world that are happening and are comprehensible. I don't know. They're understandable. You can make sense of why it's happening. It doesn't make it good. Doesn't make it righteous, doesn't even make it actually sensible, but it's happening for reasons that you can determine. So when you're a big truther guy and you see somebody come up with some sort of an idea, well, your experience should be, I vet ideas. I'm a professional idea inquirer. So if someone has an idea that's not your idea, why aren't you interested in it instead of trying to destroy it and prove your own idea right? It seems so counterintuitive, counterproductive. I was like, I'm combining the two words. So if you're like a big truther guy and you've blackpilled yourself with so much negative news, wouldn't you be trying to get to the bottom of wouldn't you be trying to find a solution to that? Or do you just want to maintain your misery? I just think it comes down to a profound, like I said, hypocrisy. Because when it comes to stuff like the narratives regarding races and where people moved from migrations and who landed here then and when, where, and a lot of that history is, as we know, completely bunk and we have no idea what's true. But if you can be so interested in such research, why couldn't you look up something simple? Like on my notes, I wrote it down because I had to bring it up. The fact that the whole space thing, the whole moon landing thing is predicated on stuff like that guy was on the phone with Nixon. The phone, like he's on a landline phone in space. You could say this stuff in a way that wasn't like you were refuting it. You could talk about how amazing it is to justify how crazy it is to believe it. He's on a landline phone 300,000 miles away in the vacuum of space on the phone with the biggest liar. What do they call that Nixon guy? They had a name for him. Wendy told me the other day what they called him. He's a sleazeball and a known liar. So why is there this whole well, it was because he's our president for the landing. Like it's he's okay. There's no way he would lie about anything. Tricky dick. And anyway, it's like this black pill guy, and it's like him and everyone like him. All these people have this smug, like, arrogance about how, I know what the cosmos look like, and you're dumb. And it's like, guys, we all went to the same high school. We all got taught the same stuff. It's like you got someone in the room who's bilingual and everyone else just all speaks English. We're all in the room speaking English and there's someone who also speaks Japanese. And that person's like saying stuff in Japanese. They're like, or whatever. I don't know. That was my shitty Japanese impression. Okay. But the point is they just said something that made no sense to me. So I'm just going to say, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's what I'm getting at is like anyone who knows about Spaceball is on the same level as everyone else. You don't know anything profound at all. We all believed in Spaceballs. Okay. I was actually talking about this the other day, not on the show, but I'll share it with you. When I was a kid, I made videos all the time. It's actually been a part of my life, my whole life, and I never really thought about it, but it makes sense. Like here I am doing the same thing again. We always like fall back in the same spot. So, when I was a kid, I wanted to make videos. I just did. And so when I was in like 6th grade, 7th grade, a couple of my teachers were really cool. And we would have like essay projects or things. And they would basically let me write the essay and have the essay, but turn it into a video. And that would like get me extra credit. Like they offered stuff like that. Like if you wanted to go the extra mile, make a poster to go with your essay or do something, make a slideshow or something. And I would try to make little videos. And as kids, we had this little crappy digital camera, the DMC. I actually kind of want to see if I can find it because it would be so funny to find it. Digital movie creator. It was like this, I'll probably never find it. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, check it out. So see this like blue thing? It's like a weird little crappy camcorder from the early 2000s. We had one of these. Intel Play Digital Movie Creator. That's definitely it. Here, let me slide this over a little bit. See this like blue and yellow one right here? That's totally what it was. And anyway, so we would make these videos, and one of the videos that we made was there was a spaceship launching. There was like a NASA launch video. And this was really like my brother's main contribution. He basically just, recorded the audio and there's like some music playing over it and the rocket's taking off and he's giving the intro. He's like, today we see the spaceship launching or whatever. And he's like, we know that there may be an accident up at NASA, but we're expecting it to go very good. And anyway, he's like talking about it, and we're little kids, like little kids. Like I don't know. At the time that we first got this camera, we're like 8 or something. But anyway, so he made this video of himself basically like screaming as the rocket's taking off, and we edited in explosions, and it was like our own kind of version of like the Challenger. And it was like, oh no, it's exploding, oh my god. And anyway, we were like freaking out. It was hilarious. And I made this whole presentation for class where I'm talking about space and astronomy and presenting the planets, and I was like, Earth. Or I was like, space, the final frontier. Like, I totally did that. I wish I had these videos. They were lost. I mean, this was literally like 20 years ago or 15 plus. Yeah, 20 years ago I was doing this. Anyway, I brought into class a presentation that was my essay as a video with like pictures and planets going around and crap. Because I used to be really big on space. And of course, we ended the video by adding that like spaceship exploding, screaming, like unnecessary thing. The point I'm making with this story is just that I've been making videos and doing this kind of thing all my life. Talking about stuff and making jokes about stuff like this my whole life. And it just so happens to be that I was also really into space. Like I thought that space was the coolest thing. I thought we already knew where all the dirt was, you know, and I thought space was super cool. And so I spent a lot of time like researching and learning about space. That's one of the things that I think makes people feel so proud about themselves, is their like ability to take these fields of education and go farther, you know, go from just being a guy who learned basic astronomy and go to get a job at NASA and like become important to the world. And you know, to each their own with that. But like I quickly learned as soon as I was like 12 to 14 years old, like a young guy, that none of the stuff they were saying made any sense. There were holes in the plot that I saw right away. And that was before I knew anything about how they faked the moon landing or whatever. Probably not allowed to say that, but the point is, I had not seen anyone's documentary and I was already a skeptic, and that's because I was a fan. I looked into it. I was like, dude, what is this? And then as I got older, I started to see how fake it really was. It was definitely the work of, actually, I can't say who it was. I don't know who it was who put together the real documentary. But I mean, they had a movie about the moon landing being fake that they put out like in the 80s. Maybe it was later than that, but I know about it. There's a movie. I'm not going to try to find it because good luck typing anything about the moon landing being fake on Google. Who knows what kind of controlled opposition you'll get sent into. But the point I'm trying to make is just that I've been into space all my life. I learned everything there was to know about space. I found out it was total crap, like bull crap, built on top of crap. And that's what it all comes down to, is the foundation of stuff. That's I think where all of this comes down to, is because we're talking about like essentially anything that you do, that you believe in, has a foundation in something. You know, we've talked about foundations in the past and about, you know, building your house on the rock and not the sand. We know that. Like having a foundation of faith so that you have the right lens in which you view things, so that you're not an idiot like some of these people who get, because what is black pill but the opposite of hope? You know what I mean? It's the idea that nothing is good and everything is bad and everything's cooked and there's no way out of it, and you're mad about it. You're upset. I described it to MK Ryan as being like a quitter. Like black-pilled people are quitters because they've decided like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's out of my control. I'm hopeless. Woe is me. Your backpack's on the ground. You're sitting there on the ground. Everyone else is trying to hike. We're still hiking down the path. We still have a future. And these black-pilled people are like, they have set their pack down. They have quit. They're quitters. They're pathetic. But what I'm getting at is it's the foundation, right? It's the foundation of this stuff. So when you start out with this foundation being that this is what everyone else believes, that's the only thing that really compels you to believe it. You have all these pressures, like peer pressure, right? They teach you about peer pressure, but nobody realizes how effective it really is until you get older and there's these established narratives that you're not allowed to question. And the reason why is because they say, well, this is well-known and you're dumb for questioning it. It's like, that's all science has ever been, is questioning the well-known ideas. Like, people used to think it was a good idea to, like, bloodlet for every illness that you got. Like, people were sailing around on crappy wooden ships and getting scurvy because they didn't know you had to eat fruit. Like, that's That's, I think, a pretty like profound example of how dumb people can be. And then you say, I got a question whether we maybe should eat oranges more. And then they're like, you idiot. You know what I mean? Like, how many times in history has this happened? Like, and yes, I know there's examples of fake stuff, but like, it'll be like, we're gonna infuse sunscreen with radium or something, hand lotion with radium, and then everybody dies of cancer, and they're like, that might not have been a good idea. How often does this happen where like every 20 years, every 15 years, we have a revelation that, it looks like the conspiracy theorists were right again, and doesn't it seem like the half-life is getting shorter? Like, this is exactly what I was talking about in the very beginning of this video. Something like the chemtrail thing. People were convinced that it was not real and just a figment of people's imagination. And guys were like, no, this is the 1960s. This is the document, the actual paper explaining the theory and what they're doing with it. And just because no one's been publicly informed, that doesn't mean it's fake. But people called you a crackpot and an idiot because you believed in it. Now look, they've publicly announced it. You're doing it for the right reasons now, to fight climate change. Therefore, now it's okay to believe in it. It's not okay to believe in it if it has something to do with a particular group of people, perhaps poisoning the environment or trying to kill you or mess with your brain or whatever it is. No, that's nonsense. That's complete idiocy. But if you put it onto the foundation slab of something else equally ridiculous and made up, like as thick as the phone call with Nixon, climate change, an undeniable fact of nature caused by you and your gas-guzzling pickup truck. Therefore, we need to do it and spray chemicals in the sky because of climate change, which is certainly real and what you are responsible for. Pay me money. You see what I mean? It's like we always get back to this where it's crap on top of crap, like Gwen David said. It is. So we have got to stop letting people do that to us, especially people who are like truther type people. Like, we got to push back because it's nonsense. Like, you can't tell me that I'm an idiot or whatever whatever words. I can't remember the pejorative terms he was using. He was using like these homemade, like people of low intellect who think they know everything and are really arrogant on the internet. You'll see these a lot in like 4chans where they just call everybody a sheep. All of you dumb sheep. And like, I get it. I get the inclination to call everyone a sheep and a normie and an NPC, but like, you have to have some respect for the fact that people are in different like legs of their waking up journey. Like, deception is the main goal of the enemy. It's literally the father of lies. So of course people have been deceived. I know it's hard to balance being like tolerant and also resistant to the nonsense. But the point I'm trying to make is just that we have to be better than that. We can't let a big BS lie about why the only reason it's acceptable to say they're spraying stuff is because now they have a reason for why they're spraying stuff that doesn't have them to have anything to do with them harming you. It's about them fixing the problem that you caused. Well, you'll have to pay the budget for it. The point I'm trying to make is the half-life has gotten way shorter, right? It used to be that a guy came out as the 9/11 guy, and for 20 years, Judy Wood or whatever, for 20 years, an absolute pariah, a complete idiot. Same with like a Bigfoot believer. Oh, you believed in Bigfoot? Yeah, your uncle, whoever, he's dumb. He thinks those monkeys are in the woods. Yeah, he's crockpot. And now everyone thinks they're real. And so it's okay now. It's okay for Mr. Ballin to have millions of subs, or for whatever channel's got 500,000 subs talking about Dog Man in the woods. Still not verified, still not proven, no more real than anything else we've been told. But because now it's we all kind of think it's okay now. So now that the crowd, now that for lack of a better word, now that the sheep herd has begun to move in the collective direction, it's now okay to talk about Bigfoot. Okay? I know I'm kind of talking in circles. I have a hard time making points. I think I just kind of get really passionate about stuff. But what I mean is that we have to be willing to question everything. We have to be the real truthers in this, because what will happen is we will start to build ideas on top of stupid stuff like what they do on purpose to destroy us. We can't do on accident what they do on purpose to destroy us. So I'm not judging anybody for being successful. I'm just saying that the culture determines success based on whether or not the majority is on board with something, rather than whether or not something is true based on facts. You understand what I'm saying? We are facts-based people. So when I say stuff like, where are we? And this is not an attempt to criticize anyone in particular, but like if I were to say, what does the world look like? I look at this map. I made it the background of my show because I'm a big supporter of Sturgios and Vibes of Cosmos, but also because this is a picture of the moon. Okay? So the way I see it is like, if I was to be like, how do you navigate the place? Well, I don't know. The best map possible is the one that God made, don't you think? Like, that's my baseline understanding of it. Like, if I was to build a whole theory on top of the shape of the world or the state of the world or where there may or may not be land somewhere out in the reaches or like between the USA and Russia, Canada. I mean, if there was something over there, I think it would be on the moon map, right? I mean, look, what I'm getting at is foundationally, right? So all I'm getting at is if we start off on a foundation that's not like really good, then we're going to go off on stuff that's not really good. So I like the moon map. And the reason I like the moon map is because we can't touch it. You know what I mean? For instance, like whether or not there's a piece of land somewhere or a river system or something. Like, you know, like they love to bring up Lemuria. People love to talk about that continent, the sunken continent, or like the ice wall. Nobody knows there's really an ice wall. Nobody knows there's really a Lemuria out there. I'm not saying that we should condemn people because they do or don't. Then you end up like the black pill guy who says, you idiots, you don't know anything. That's not the kind of people I want to be. I want to be the kind of person that just questions it. Before we start compiling evidence and building up on top of something, we have to find out if it's really there. You know what I mean? We have to find out if the foundation is solid or not. So I want to be people that are more critical. And it's not negative, it's not party poopers, it's just that like there are ideas that spring up that are based on research that is not conclusive. And so it becomes a gigantic speculation, and that doesn't help anybody. And the reason I'm drawing attention to the idea is because we live in a small minority community in the world of people who question the narrative and what they're taught. It's not everybody. That's why there's so many familiar faces and why there's so many people going onto each other's channels who know each other. There's like a level of it's a small world, I guess you could say. But outside of the Kool-Aid circle, off the party bus, and outside of the truther, arena, there's a ton of normie people. And just because they're not awake to all the conspiracy theories doesn't mean that they're idiots. And so that whole, they're all sheep, that is how you become a narcissist, right? Because you think you're better than everybody else, so no one else can teach you anything. That's where you get that black pill attitude of, I know it all, no one else can tell me. And I just think that we need to be better than that, but we also have to consider the fact that there's a pitfall there where if you decide that you know everything already, you're not interested in learning anything else, you create a huge blind spot, and then you're not growing, you're not learning. So the rest of the mainstream world has a tendency to think we're all crazy because we think stupid, unfounded ideas, and they're not interested in looking to learn about those ideas that have become founded in the minds of people who sought them. No one was a Spaceball believer and then decided, no, I don't believe any of that, I believe this, just because? Like, the whole reason I became an alternative cosmology believer is because I had needed to know, there are people that think that? Why? Not why, like, why, you dumbass? Why, like, what? I gotta see the receipts, man. What do you have? Because I didn't even know that. I didn't know people thought that. And then you're like, oh, actually, all the ancient cultures of the world thought that. And then you learn, it's like, oh, yeah, well, in the math they give you, total bunk. Oh, and this, that, and the other thing. You start learning. That's what you do. You learn things because you realize, I don't know everything. I better learn something. What are these people talking about? Well, it sounds crazy. What did you guys do? How'd you guys get that whole idea? And then when you find out, they tell you something like, well, we found out that there's evil spirits that entered the blood. That's why he's got the flu. And so we need to drain out all of his blood to get the demons out of it. It's like, maybe. Like, is that the justification? Is there any kind of like scientific basis or anything? No? Oh, okay. So, I know. It's like, oh, it's the cult. Like, what am I going to use to justify stuff? The Lord told me to. Well, a lot of people love to use that justification. I've always been very wary of saying the Lord told me to do anything, because it's like, you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be like, I just said, God tell me what to do. God told me I need to do this, that, and the other thing. I just think we should be a little more cautious than that. But anyway, there's such an inclination to just get carried away with stuff, and I think it's great for fun. Like you guys, like I was saying, like cryptid research, like, oh, it's so spooky. They're outside the cabin. He heard a knock on the door. The two children with black eyes standing outside. Let us in. We'd like some tea. Let us in for some tea, sir. And then it's like, don't let them in. Don't let those black-eyed demons into your house. It's like, I think that stuff's hilarious. But guys, how do we separate ourselves from a bunch of like jokers? Like, how do we get taken seriously? Here's the example that comes to my mind. It's so aggravating, and it hurts me because I love mysteries and stuff. But okay, so there's a couple guys. I think I brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again for context. Campbell, Autodidactic, and Guy Anderson, and they were having all kinds of talks about, and I recommend you go to Autodidactic channel and subscribe. They're like a Tartaria channel. They're not Christians, so they have a massive blind spot in the middle of their face, but they're trying, and I like them. They're nice. They're trying. It's a lot better than being a big black pill. You know, they're still carrying their pack. They're way back there. They're on like the blunted edge of conspiracy there because I don't even know about Jesus. How can you be so dumb? But look, I'm not insulting them. They're just way back there. They had like markers along the trail, and they've got like 2. They're way back there. But the point is, we know about Jesus, so we have an advantage. That's cool. But we're not out to like try to ruin everyone. They need to figure it out too. But the point is that Campbell has Guy Anderson on. They're talking about what's his name? The guy that he's like immortal. He keeps showing up. Saint Germain, the Count of Saint Germain. And they had a great talk about that. And I'm sorry. I get distracted by chat because you guys are so funny. Anyway, and now I've lost my train of thought. Great. It's fine. People getting carried away, and then they lose the plot. And I think that we got to try to do better to keep the plot, since we're like the actual cutting edge. So anyway, Autodidactic and Campbell's got Guy Anderson on. They're talking about all kinds of stuff. And this is one of those that you guys know. You guys have probably heard of this, right? Like, have you seen the pictures of the swords that have the strange looking wiring in the hilt of the swords, and like the armor that looks really ornate and strange? And there's this kind of like Tartaria Antiquitech field that believes that what we know as like medieval armor was possibly some sort of a energy weapons system that had something to do with, directing energy and like lightsabers. Like, it's like the origin of lightsabers. I would have to do a big like kind of a breakdown on that for those of you guys who've never heard of it, and I just don't have time and I'm not prepared. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime. It's another one of those kind of fantasy concepts though, so it's like hard to devote a lot to it because its foundation isn't good. That's what I'm getting at. It's hard to build a tower on sand, man. And here's where it comes from. So people think that there's old world tech. You guys know about that, the Antiquitech stuff, and I'm not trying to tell you guys it's wrong. I think there's a lot of truth to like cymatic resonances and the understanding of the old world that we don't have, where they had advanced technology in the fireplaces like Steven's talking about. And I think that's totally accurate. And again, so all I'm saying is these guys are having a conversation about armor, and there's an offhanded discussion about the potential that the armors may have even served as some kind of a Faraday cage. And a lot of the talking points given by Guy Anderson, who's also not a Christian, by the way, his talking points are like, they're grounded in the kind of lore of Tartaria and Antiquitech, and so they're not really on the foundation of anything solid. And he's not trying to sell a book, okay? He's just talking offhandedly, speculating, which is okay. But I'm just talking about how we get lost in the woods. And what happens is he's talking about, well, they believed it may have been some sort of a Faraday cage. And you start to get this sort of, I don't know how you would call it. It's it's like I said, it's getting carried away, but you start getting justifications for your idea. And so he'll start listing off some of the reasons he thinks this makes sense, because he'll be like, well, as you know, like the armor was extremely expensive and very hard to make. Okay, true. And they would say that there was all these fighters, but how could they have been producing this armor at such a rate? And how, with all these soldiers, there's these armies. He's like listing off battles with the total number of soldiers. And he's like, how could they have armor for 40,000 men and all this? And he's talking about all this stuff. And he's making all these wild speculations about how the armor, how it's so heavy and you can't move when you wear it. And that's how they know it must have been serving a different purpose, because you couldn't fight while wearing this. And like, he's saying all this stuff, and it's just like, I am not trying to be like a party pooper on the imagination that maybe there was some sort of special energy purpose to the armor. That's probably true, but we need to get our foundation right. First of all, you could just do a simple search on the internet and find out, is medieval armor actually movable? Like you could go on YouTube right now and pull up a video of a guy in full lore accurate medieval armor, manufactured in the same way. Full outfits, and they do like cage fighting. Like they do like UFC, USB fighting. That's a good one. But they do like UFC fighting in full armor with blunted but accurate weapons. They beat the crap out of each other, and they're doing somersaults and body slamming, and it's not pretty like choreographed. It's like a guy like hitting the other guy in the head with a buckler. It's like, it's brutal. It's like a Europe thing. And so anyway, there's guys rolling and jumping on and off of horses and fighting and climbing things and doing all kinds of stuff in full armor. So it's not heavy and obstructive. I mean, versus no armor, yeah, but guys are doing all kinds of athletic stuff in that armor. It was designed to flex and move. It was designed to distribute the weight, no matter what the era was. Everything had a purpose for why they did things, just like today. Well, maybe less so today. We do a lot of things for no reason. But what I'm getting at is, let's just say Guy Anderson wanted to know, do you think that medieval armor was used as a Faraday cage for energy weapons? Do you think they were directing energy weapons into their swords and like shooting people with lightning? Like it's the Last Jedi or whatever. Okay, maybe, but let's start with the foundations. Like, what do they know? What do we say? What do they say about armor? What do they tell us? And you like go find a Scalagrim on YouTube, or you find what's that other guy? There's all these nerds who like cosplay a medieval armor and talk about it, and they make swords and discuss how they were used, and they know a lot about their field of research. Why don't we just interview one of them, and they can tell us everything that we need to know about what they believe is true based on the current narrative? Let's do a full research thing on medieval armor, and then consider the justifications for why we think it's Faraday cage. Because one of the justifications is that, it's so heavy, so you wouldn't want to wear it because it makes sense that the real use was that it was like a Faraday cage. And then it's like, well, how could they have produced it so fast without advanced technology? And it's like, the only rich people had armor, dude. Like normal guys like are standing there in like a tunic. It's like about to go charging into a battle line against some other guy. He's got like a sheepskin shirt on. He doesn't even have pants. His shoes are like leather bags with a rope around the ankle. Like, why are we so disconnected from reality? Like, it could be anything. It could be anything. It's literally just like, I'm not saying that there aren't Faraday cages in advanced tech. I'm just saying, like, we got to get our facts straight. Of course, it takes forever to make a suit of armor, and there's like one guy who gets it. Like the entire army, there's like 10,000 guys, and there's like 3 guys with armor, like the king, and then like his general, and like one other guy. Everyone else has like a helmet with like a chainmail shirt, if you're lucky. You got gauntlets and boots only. You know what I mean? So, and then other things like a sword. Nobody had a sword. There's so much money. Everyone had spears. They're super cheap to make. You know what I mean? There's just so much stuff that's like basic stuff you could know about the medieval stuff if you just did a little research before. And that's how I feel about so many things, right? There's so many instances where there's a field of speculation that you could hone down to a much more realistic potential if you start with a foundation that makes sense. And that's kind of the gist of what I'm getting at here. When I was mentioning earlier that I don't care what the internet says, this is the cult leader, the narcissistic cult leader here telling you, if I don't know about it, it doesn't exist. Okay? Which is how a lot of people treat things, but it's mostly a joke for me. But like, let's be honest, it's like if I go on the internet and search what does white pill mean, they're gonna have some sort of worldly reason. Well, it refers to people who choose to give love to others without succumbing to the hate of the world. And it's like, that's generic, that's crap, that ain't good enough. What is the white pill? If the black pill is hopelessness, if it's a quitter, if it's an angry, a naysayer, and a guy who craps, that's the real party pooper, right? It's the black pill guy who poops the parties, okay? So what is the white pill? It is the opposite of that. The white pill is hope. And hope, it comes in the form of things you cannot see. It comes in believing in things that are not there in your hand. I don't need a paper mache thing to come down on dental floss and land in the foreground so that it looks like, oh, here comes the lander. It's coming down. Come on. I don't need to see crap to believe that something is or isn't true, all right? And so what ends up happening is India does like an Atari level moon landing or space project, and everyone's just like, yeah, it's so cool. And it's like, dude, since the proof is so poor, it still works on people, which means that the quality of the proof is actually irrelevant. What only matters is the actual truth, and that is the white pill. The white pill is the acceptance of not just hope, but of identity and of purpose. You can't quit. You can't put your bag down. You live for something bigger than the ankle that hurts or the back that's sore and tired. You are driven by something more important than whether there's bad news on TV or not. The white pill is about embracing your true identity in Christ. The white pill is about becoming that person. Sure, it's going to be full of growing pain. There's a lot of, it's a hard pill to swallow. That's what I was saying earlier. It's huge. You know, it's like a big old horse pill. You got to realize, man, everything I was lied to massively. But there's a reason for it. Things are not just happening in a vacuum. Stuff matters. That's what I heard. That's what I heard the Haunted Cosmos guy say. And I could totally relate to that. What you do matters. The world matters. So there's no excuse for quitting. So like all these black pill people, I'm not trying to tell them how to live. If they want to quit. But like, this is the difference, right? This is not just about being like a Christian. Because there's a lot of Christians who are like doing stuff. And it looks like, oh, we've got a new admin building. You know, and I'm not trying to take away from the good that churches do. But they got it all wrong. The foundation is wrong. So you're never going to really get anything effective. I'm not worried about the furniture on the 11th floor of a building built on a foundation of sand. I could care less about what you're doing all the way up there because what's going on down here is wrong. That whole thing is kaput. That thing is done. When the day comes that the rain comes down, that is washing away all of those big dreams, those groundbreaking discoveries based on the foundation of nothing. When I want to find out stuff like where do I live, I have a selection of options to choose from. Do I trust the textbook? Do I trust a collection of Jesuit and Mason maps that make California an island? Or do I look at the moon that God made and say, shoot, where's the foundation? Where do I start with this? I don't know. I guess that's up to you to decide. But for me, it's like with anything. I need to know that the foundation is solid first. And I see a lot of this stuff where we're trying to figure out where we live and we're like looking at maps of the old world. I'm not trying to insult anybody. People do great research and make great presentations. Some people that I'm a fan of in this community, even if they're not a fan of me. And that's okay. I have great respect for everybody who's on the path and not actively trying to stab people in the back. I think that is a fair perspective to have. But I'm just saying, like, here's me being the critical guy, being the party pooper who says that, like, we got to vet our sources, dude. We can't just start going off on things based on nothing and then act as though they're groundbreaking. That's what I'm going to say. And that might offend some people, but that's just a fact. The map thing is one that really gets me because it's like, I'm forced to decide who I want to believe. The guys who were sailing around working for the Vatican, paid for by the Blue Bloods, telling everybody they had an incentive to lie. You get to be famous, and you get to be paid, and you get to get more voyages, which make you more famous and get you more paid by the Queen and for the Vatican, so that you can go tell everybody about the mermaids and the giants and the continents you discovered out there. Like, I don't trust old mats at all, dude. I would say that here's my baseline on that. If you want to know where Jesus is, he should be right here in your heart. That's what it means to take the white pill. You don't have to wonder where he is, because you know where he is. And you don't have to wonder where his country is, because every single scrap of dirt on this bigger map than those dumb ones that everyone's looking at, they all belong to him. That's all his kingdom. Where is the land of Jesus? The entire dang thing. All right? I'm sorry. That's not groundbreaking. It's not that complicated. I'm sorry. But sometimes shit just irks me, man. You know, I can't, everybody's like, look how cool I am. Look at all the things I've discovered. And it didn't even pass the smell test on square one. It's this piety. I can't deal with it. It's the same as black pill. If you become a truther you're not a truther, you're a fiction author. That's fine. Just don't try to pass it off as though you're teaching people true stuff, because then you start getting into culty shit. Sorry about all my swear jars, guys. I'm just getting a little passionate. But think about it, right? What makes a cult a cult? Some guy came up with an idea based loosely on something that wasn't verified. It was a sandy foundation, because if it was true, no one would drink Kool-Aid and kill themselves. No one would shoot their kids in the head for an alien ship waiting overhead. None of that would happen. But somebody starts some sort of idea based on sand. And we loosely justified it with, well, I looked around on the internet and I found an archive that shows a picture. Therefore, I should reevaluate what I think. You know what I should do? I should rent an icebreaker ship and send it north and crush through the ice wall and get to the Lost Kingdom. That's what I should do. I think we should start a fundraiser. I think we should run the Russian Navy blockade in a chartered icebreaker. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I'm just getting to the point where I know that there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing original at all. Like, and then the idea that, like, is there a Jerusalem in the north? Like, is there a holy city? Is there a camp of the saints? Maybe. But, like, what difference does it make? Are you going to go there? I know a guy who tried years ago. I mean, it was his theory first. That there's a land up there and that you could go there and it's the thing. And it's just like, look, he was busted by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police like 2 miles or 10 miles over the Canadian border. Ryan's cool guy. I mean, he was way ahead of people on this. He was talking about this North Pole stuff like 5-6 years ago before anybody was even talking about it. So good on him. He found out the hard way that no one can go there. So it's a dead end. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's just like, dude, we've got more important fish to fry right here, right now. Where is Jesus? In your heart, I hope. Where is his land? All around you. I hope you understand. That's the white pill. I'm not out looking for it. I'm living it. And you should be too. And the fact of the matter is, we've got problems here that we are called to address, and this is where the real hard pill to swallow is. The reason why our world sucks, the reason why people are black-pilled, why they're so upset about a never-ending cycle of bad news, injustice, death, suffering, misery, why is all that happening? Is it complicated or is it simple? I think it's simple. Because God's people do not follow God's commandments. Seems really simple, but is it or is it not? I don't know. For me, it's simple. Maybe because God told me. Or maybe because I just read the book. But I think that the biggest and hardest part to swallow about this white pill is the fact that the reason all of this sucks is because we are not doing our job. And I mean all of us. We want to think that we're doing our best. And maybe we are. Maybe me, you, the people that go to church and like stay up all night with sick families and stuff. There are people. Only you can know. You can't fake it. The kingdom is in you or it's not, right? The fact of the matter is that we don't have to subscribe to the problems of the world. We don't have to tune in and make ourselves miserable. That's the advice to people who don't know who they are in Christ. But if you know who you are and what kingdom you're a part of, why do we let this stuff go on? And this is a problematic thing to discuss. This is why you won't ever see me get monetized, and why I won't be invited to speak in any churches anytime soon. Because the foundation is wrong. The foundation of Christianity in the modern age is wrong. I don't care if you're a Catholic or a Protestant, it's all the same thing. This building occupation, this music, it's like there's only one piece of land and it's full of bad guys, so we just go hide in a shed. That's what Christianity is in the modern age. We allow women and children and elderly and orphans and sick people to be churned up and whizzed up and turned into soylent by the world that we live in. And no one does anything about it. That's where the black pill comes from, is because it seems hopeless, because that person who doesn't know who they are has a giant blind spot in front of their face. They don't know that it's actually not only justified that we do something about it, but that it is commanded by God. So all around the country are all these preachers who love to meet with you on Sunday and accept a paycheck and have missional trips to share the gospel with unreached people, while our own government is murdering people, babies, and people in other countries with our taxpayer dollars. Am I a radical? Or am I just a guy who gets it? That's not the cutting edge. There's nothing cutting edge at all about realizing that America is a monster, a war machine from the pit of hell. And it's not limited to here. It's just we're the biggest fish with the most guns and the most bullets. So we're the worst bad guy. And what do you think that people in other countries, as bombs are blowing up their families, you think they look over and think, well, not all of them. Only some Americans want us dead for no reason or because we're Christians. How many Christians do you think died at the behest of U.S. bombs during the Obama administration? Or is that too cutting edge for people? And it's we're going down a sharp and dangerous path. This could be the end. But this is what I'm embracing, the cult thing now. I have a message. The foundation of the modern church is corrupt. Christianity in the modern age is nothing but a parallel to the system that already exists. It feeds off of it. It thrives off of it. Commercialism, capitalism. All of the same systems that allow the enemy to control us, oppress us, and destroy our lives and the lives of people weaker than you and me. People who can't defend themselves. Those are the people that suffer. It's the weakest among us who are chewed up and consumed by the system. And so the question then becomes, where does the line draw between our, to where we're complicit because we didn't do anything, right? It's like they always love to bring this up about World War II. If you were a prison guard at one of those camps, you're guilty. There's no such thing as just following orders. You're guilty by virtue of the fact that you were part of the team. So the world hates Jesus. The world hates Christianity. Even the church itself is corrupt and hates Christianity and acts corrupt and tries to destroy the true message of Christ and the truth of the gospel of peace and of unity and hope and love and prosperity. So why would I want to align with that? Treble Down says, churchianity has hijacked our society to complacency and tolerance. I agree 100%. And the reason why it's bad is not because bad people do what bad people do. That's what they do. The question is, why don't good people do what good people do? Maybe people just don't know what that looks like. So I'm on a mission. I've been given a mission, okay? God told me to do something that I don't want to do. But I think I need to help everyone to understand who Jesus really is. And I'm going to say some stuff that's going to freak people out, but that's just what it is. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. He's the King of Kings. He's the King of the whole world, right? I don't doubt any of that. Jesus told us that we should love God with all of our heart, soul, and strength. He said that is the highest command that he has for us. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. If you mean that, if you really do love God with all of your heart, your soul, and your strength, would you be okay with failing him? With not doing what he has commanded you to do, even while the world is being ripped apart as a direct result of the people not doing what he commands? This is not just some 10 plagues of Egypt because they're rebelling. This is people who have taken their hands off the machine. It's spiraling out of control. The car's wheel is rolling. We're rolling off the ravine, and it's because everyone has just said, oh, I'm done. It's not up to us to decide how things go. It's not up to us to decide how the government is or how people should live their lives. I dust my hands of it, and you know what happens? Someone's going to sit in the seat. And so who sits in the seat is a Satanist. So here's the thing. We got a lot of people talking, but not a lot of people doing. And so here's what I think. I think that we should try to figure out how to do what God told us to do. When Jesus Christ said, it will be in this generation, you shall live to see the coming of the Son of Man. You know, whatever. The argument about Jesus telling the truth is a foregone conclusion. If you believe him, you believe what he said is true. That's it. Okay? So Jesus comes back, whether it's now or tomorrow or the rapture or it's the end times, or it doesn't matter. Let's just pretend that at some point in history, Jesus returns like he said he was going to do. What does that look like? Is the Jesus that returns holding lambs and sitting on rocks and teaching in parables? I teach you these things in parables, but to you I speak plainly. I sit here and I tell you of the things that are coming. Who is Christ when he comes back? He comes with a sword. And I can promise you with an absolute fact that when the temple was destroyed by Jesus, when one stone was not left upon the other, that there were people in the temple who were crushed to death by stones. Okay? And there were people in offices and military factions who got together and put on their armor, the little round shield, little stupid Lorica segmentata. They came out and they got vaporized and died. Do you think that anyone could stand against the Son of Man as he came to claim his kingdom? You think you're going to raise up a weapon and resist? I can tell you your eyes probably exploded out of your skull and you died. Okay? And so, if that's the character of Christ, this conquering brute who just vaporizes you for resisting him, which is what he did. I'm sorry if you don't believe that. That's how you conquer the world. Anyway, that's the character of him, okay? And then there's this moral conundrum, like, well, we have to be, if as much as possible, live peaceably among men. If to the best of your ability, you know what? I could go to an abortion rally and say to them, please don't kill those innocent kids. Please stop advocating for it. And you know what they'd say? 2 of these, sit and spin. Is it possible to live peaceably with people who murder kids and think it's okay? You tell me, dude. And now we're going to talk about how you know who the good guy is. How do you know who the good guy is? Okay? Because then it becomes like, well, if you just do what they do, then how are you any different? See, that's the kind of mind game they want to play with you. Here's an example. Since we love talking about space, I'm going to speak space. I'm going to speak outer space. Everybody loves Spaceballs, and you're so dumb if you believe in flat Earth, you're an idiot. Okay, since we love space and we worship space and the religion of space, we obviously know that the most important space thing is the literature and lore of Star Wars. It's our holy grail of space entertainment. And as you know, the galaxy was under the threat of this terrible, evil, totalitarian faction, this evil empire that controlled every aspect of our lives. And so we had to do something about it. So one chosen guy, Luke Skywalker, the son of the Dark Lord himself, he decided to change his course and become a fighter for good. And people forget. People just don't. He's the good guy, right? Look, I'm not here to have like a sort of like a debate about the morality of Star Wars. I'm just saying, I'm speaking Star Wars for all you space people out there to know. Evil Empire, bad. Luke Skywalker, good. Well, there's a scene in that movie where the Empire, as you know, they have a gigantic moon The Death Star, they call it, has a big laser on it. That's a real problem. That is a war machine that blows up an entire world. Man, they killed millions of people with that thing. They're so evil. The Rebel Alliance is like, dude, if they do that again, they'll kill millions more people. We have to stop them by any means necessary. And so they steal the Death Star plans, and they've got them, and they're like, there's a hidden exhaust port in that one, and if you can get an ion torpedo down the exhaust port, it'll destroy the Death Star and save the galaxy. And so it happens, right? Luke Skywalker, he's flying, is like, you switched off your targeting computer. You know what I'm talking about? He's like coming down, they're flying through that trench, and Vader's like, I have you now. And then he's like hit, and he flies off to the side. Now it's you, Luke. You're alone. It's your last chance. You gotta do the right thing and save the galaxy. And he turns off the targeting computer. He trusts the Force. He sends a torpedo. It goes down the tube, and he gets out of there. And the Death Star explodes, and it's so iconic, and everyone remembered it. It was such a Hollywood moment, and we all just believe in space so much. And it was the original sale of how cool space could be, and everybody enjoyed because the rebels socked it to the Empire, and the good guys win the day finally, you know, and it's all good and dandy, and no one talks about the fact that the Death Star had like 2 million people on it, right? I looked this up. How many people on the Death Star? They said it was something like 1.7 to 2 million estimated people. Check it out. The first Death Star, that's a little right here, housed a population of around 2 million people, including 1.7 active military personnel. Well, you wore the badge, you must be evil. 400,000 maintenance droids, those are irrelevant because they're robots. 250,000 civilians. This number was further expanded to 2.4 million on the second Death Star. Let's not forget they blew up another one. So, and again, I like to think about the fact that any military installation, if like you look at America, you know, my brother was in the Navy, tell you about it, 21 Palms, there's like base housing, entire families of people on the base. So not just contractors who are getting money from the Empire, but there are innocent people on the Star Station. And it causes Luke Skywalker utterly no hesitation at all. Bzz, he fires it in. 2 million wiped out. Ah! Like, what? Now, I'm not saying we should get our morality lessons from Star Wars. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that the understanding and justification of these people is, the Empire and their people are all wholly evil, and everyone in there is evil, and they need to be destroyed for the good of humanity to stop this planet destroying war machine, so to speak. So they had decided that the cause was worth the cost, like that it was worth the price they had to pay. Like, they would have probably liked to have sent an envoy and be like, Lord Vader, will you please consider not destroying Alderaan and millions of innocent lives? Could you test your star station on a random space rock out in the cosmos? You know, and JT's like, Vader kept the trains running on time. Yeah, there's a lot to be spoken about how in expanded Star Wars lore, when the Empire fell, it actually caused chaos in the galaxy because they had been maintaining order for so long. But again, that's beside the point. The point is that in order to win, there's bodies, okay? That's the history of war. And don't hate me for saying it. You know, it's not right. I don't like it. But there's always going to be bodies. Every year there's bodies. Old people, sick people, aborted babies, people being bombed. There's a big pile of bodies every year. And I'm not saying that there should be more. I'm saying there should be less. You know what I mean? Maybe what I mean to say is not that I would like the world to be a better place. That's my dream, is that the world could be made a better place. And so I'm going to preach to you guys a prosperity gospel right now. And I ain't no Kenneth Copeland, but I am a cult leader, so hear me out. The world is a miserable place because miserable people make it that way. There are thrones in every aspect of society, whether it's entertainment, social media influence, corporate executive office of government from various nations, military, civilian, it doesn't matter. There are positions of power all around the country. And it doesn't take a genius to know, and all around the world, of course, it doesn't take a genius to recognize that these positions of power are being abused and exploited, and that there is a complete wholesale lack of accountability. It comes all the way down to little things like a guy, a man, we'll call him a man, but I don't mean male, I just mean a man, comes and commits a violent crime, stabs somebody a lot. That guy goes to jail and goes to court. And what happens? The judge says, released. And this is not, I'll give you a real example. There was a guy, he wasn't supposed to be here. He was not a natural born citizen of this country. He had committed crimes and was in the process of fleeing from the police in a stolen car. And he crashed into another guy who is not a natural born citizen, but is a citizen of the country. Also, they're both from Mexico, believe it or not. One guy came in the right way, one guy didn't. The guy who didn't was driving a car that wasn't his. He was running from the cops at full speed, and he crashed into that other guy who did everything right, and that other guy died. So the bad guy killed a good guy, and the bad guy was released by the judge on his own recognizance the same day, and was told, well, your court date is in 2 weeks, make sure you come back so we can charge you for manslaughter and felony evasion. And so they released him on his own recognizance. Where do you think he went? He went back to Mexico. Now, is the problem the bad guy because bad guys do what bad guys do? Or is the problem the judge that everyone thinks is a good guy? You see what I'm saying? The problem is not the dog that bites you because it's a mean dog. The problem is the owner who trained the dog. And what does it train a criminal when they can commit crimes and just be released on their own recognizance? This is happening in every state of the country. It's not hype. It's read the page. It was there's this whole thing right now that's hype news right now. It's these 11 guys broke out of prison and escaped across the country. Dangerous felons, murdered people, sexual assault, whatever. They're loose running around. Do you think they're afraid of getting in trouble? They know when they get caught, they'll get perp walked back to jail. Oh, well, I guess our trip to the store is over for the day. Our gallivanting is over. Back to the big house. We have no order in this country or in this world because chaos is ruling every facet of our world. I love it, but it's not quite there yet. I heard this whole, I heard people talking about it, but it sickens me. Let's just say it's a prolific Christian podcast, and they are connected to another prolific Christian ministry group, and they are owned by the ministry group that hosts their podcast and pays for them to be the podcast. And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy where normal people start a podcast and hope to gain fans and hope to kind of get support so they can be a real podcast. But then there's a lot of podcasts where there's a corporation that set up their studio and pays them, and that's it's a real thing, unfortunately. But the problem is that corporate thing it's totally evil. It's the same thing as the beast. And what's going on is they'll pass down these counterfeit messages, right? It's the controlled opposition, so to speak. And this is what they'll do. I heard them talking about this recently. They talk about the dominion charge, or they act like that we're supposed to have dominion of the world. Well, God's original command to man was to go forth and subdue the earth. Subdue and dominate the earth. Have dominion over every living thing in the sky, over the birds of the air, over the fish of the sea, he says, and over the land, over every living thing that moves over the earth. And of course, I know that is what he said, right? He says birds of the air because there's birds in the air. And he says fish of the sea because there's fish in the sea. And then he said every living thing that moves on the ground. And I know churchy people like to think, oh, it moves on the ground, so it must be like an inchworm, crawling along the ground. No, it means all things that are air, sea, and land, including people, okay? That's the dominion charge. Because if you're not in charge, Satan's in charge. You see how this works? God, Jesus, you. If you're not there, Satan steps in. It's very simple. Okay, and so there are people who kind of loosely preach the message, but you know what they do with it? They turn it into an opportunity for you to pay them so that they can work to have the dominion charge. So that we as Christians can have successful businesses. And it's that same shed mentality. I'm calling it the shed mentality. It's that, well, we could never even hope to compete with this Death Star. Let's just build a space station way out in the middle of nowhere and just do our own thing, as if you'll be allowed to. It's like I don't even have words to describe how foolish it is. And we already saw this when the 2020 thing happened and everyone realized, dude, you do not have religious freedom. If they decide your church is canceled, my friend. And so people think that it's like, well, Christianity is not really being persecuted in the US. And then they're like closing down the church because of some arbitrary made up thing that they said was going on. It's basically like if they come up with a reason, they can ban you from following Jesus because they have the power, not you. You could be in the position of power and say, I embrace the idea that you can have your own belief, right? How we were talking about how we have to be the kind of people that say, look, I can't control where you're at or what you think or where you are on the truth journey. That's not my job. I'm not going to attack you over it. I'm not trying to ruin your life. I'm not trying to get rid of you. But you have to have an adult in the room. You have to have the Christians who have the benevolence of Christ to say, we allow you to also practice your faith here. Because the fact of the matter is, and you can say whatever you want about me for it, but it's just the fact, all the major religions of the world would happily put you out of business if they had the power to. If Islam was in control of the United States, Christianity would be banned. I promise. It's like, I don't have to think in hypotheticals. In countries where Islam rules, you're not allowed to be a Christian, among other things. They'll throw you off the roof if you're gay, okay? So, again, that's probably not something you're allowed to say, but it's just a fact, dude. It's like you have to have a teacher in the classroom because all the other kids are idiots. You can't have the blind leading the blind. The world is full of wicked people. You think like a bad tree is going to bear good fruit? Is the kill count going to go down at the behest of these people? Is the millions of people dying from poison, atmospheric, pharmaceutical, GMO, warfare? Is the attack on living people going to end because bad guys one day decide, I had an empathy moment. I saw the human life, the struggle of the average man, and as I stepped off my private jet, I've never had a job. I've never woken up for a shift in my life. I've never been sunburned. I always have the finest tanning beds. Oh, I feel such empathy for these bugs. I just think that as a Luciferian, I think they should have the right to freedom. I think they should be able to prosper as well. Like, is that ever going to happen? Like, is there ever going to be a Muslim or a Hindi or a Buddhist or a Satanist who says, you know what? Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, He should be the one who decides how we run our domestic policy. It's never going to happen. Now, people might change themselves, but Islam is not Christianity. Buddhism is not Christianity. Taoism is not Christianity. Christianity isn't Christianity. So how are we going to get anybody to do the right thing when everyone's faith is based on doing the wrong thing? Foundations. When God created us, He told us to run the place. Not run it for fun, not run it for money or for chicks or for cars or for houses. Run it for Him. And we sucked so bad at it, He had to send His own Son to come and fix our wagon. And then He does His great work. And it's like Paul was saying on his show earlier, you're changed now. I don't even know the old me anymore. I don't even know who that is. I've become some sort of crazy person. The old me would have been like, that guy's unhinged. And maybe I am, but maybe the hinges are hooked to Satan and I don't want to be on the hinge. What I'm getting at is I think that it's very simple. It doesn't mean that everyone needs to draw a sword and attack everyone who doesn't believe in them. That's the opposite of what I'm preaching. This is a message for all of humanity. It isn't for white people or black people or Hispanic people or Asian people or Jewish people or African or whatever. It doesn't matter where you come from or what your race is. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And you know what He says? There is no male or female. There is no Greek or Jew or free or slave. This is the only movement that is truly for the people. Not for X country, not for X faith group, not for X money bag, not for X corporation. There's only one movement. There's only one identity that people can have. And as we all have decided to be nice, to play nice, to be fair, to be kind, to turn the other cheek all the time, to live peaceably, We've all just kind of sat back and let these bad guys just advance and advance and advance and advance to the point where it's like, can we even get it back? Of course we can. Christ goes before us. Nothing can stand against us, and that is what the world needs to know. It is the charge. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to follow God's commands. And the reason why the first command is in the first book of the Bible is because it's the priority. It is the number one command. How are you going to take care of widows and orphans and elderly when you don't have control of any money? You don't have control of any trucks or any warehouses. You don't have control of any navy. You don't have any planes. You don't have shit. So how are you feeding the elderly and the orphans and the widows? And how are you stopping the wars? And how are you punishing these corrupt judges and the criminals who stab people or crash cars and kill people? How are you going to own and dominate and do anything? You're like an inch away from not even being allowed to have a Bible anymore. Like, you'd think that Christians would feel the pressure when 4 or 5 years ago they closed down your service because they said it was a health risk. Yeah, it's a health risk for them and their freaking empire of evil. Because if everybody gets their head on straight, they get their foundation right, they choke down that big old white pill and realize who you are, why you're here, and what God made you to do, now all of a sudden you're a threat. So they'd like you just showing up to church and having Sunday service and sipping your coffee and then going home. They like you to think that your responsibility is just for you and your own life, not every living thing that creeps on the ground, everything in the air, everything in the sea. Who's saving the whales from the Japanese whaling industry? Not you, because you don't have dominion. The list goes on and on. Who's saving the children from the massive multinational trafficking networks? Not you, because you don't own the Navy. Am I out of my mind, or am I like totally on it, right? Like, I think that this is something that needs to be taught, it needs to be preached, and we need to not accept anything short of the fact of the matter being that all positions of authority, from entertainment to corporation to government to military to education, they all need to be occupied by actual Christian people. And I don't care if you fake it all the way to the legislature. If I see fruit, then we're eating fruit. But, fakers, you can't fake it. You know what I mean? It's like if we just said, this is the standard now, we're not accepting anything less. There are more of us than there are of them. That's the thing they don't want you to know. Something like 2 billion Christians on earth, and that's the people who loosely identify. Imagine if people were activated. Like, how many people, you know what I mean? It's as simple as this, right? The world suffers because we do not follow God's commands. What are his commands? Own everything, rule everything. Does that mean abuse them? No. Is that his character? You're not in line with the hierarchy if you're not acting like he would. But look, I saw Jesus in a vision vaporizing people. Okay? Like, so I guess, I'm not saying vaporize people. I'm just saying, look how far you could go if you actually felt like you needed to. That's the extremist angle. I'm just saying, look, these people, they could be simply displaced. I know it seems like it's a bigger thing. You don't start with action. You start with intent. You start with foundation, and then you build your tower on top of that, right? So what is the foundation? We need to reteach ourselves and the rest of the world who Jesus is, a conquering, dominating king of the earth, who for 1,000 years ruled in an unmitigated power source. And then what happened was we reached the end of that period. We entered into this thing we call the Satan's little season. Some people believe that, some people don't. That's kind of irrelevant. That's not actually part of selling the truth message. It's just part of the whole Jesus spoke the truth, so you better believe him. But that's beside the point, really. All I'm getting at is that we've entered into this dark time, and many Christians believe that we should do nothing for one reason or another. And many people who are in the little season think, or who believe in the little season think that, well, that means we just have to sit here until it's over. And my mentality is completely different. Little season of Satan should be little season's worst vacation ever. It should be Satan's worst time on earth, is this little season. He should be utterly amazed at the fact that Jesus doesn't even have to be here doing miracles because the spirit of his kingdom is so powerful that it compels his people to take control of the world no matter what it costs for the right reason. You know, it's like I always say this, and it's not okay to say it, but it's true. If there's a giant pile of bodies, I'd rather it be bad guys than innocent kids. Why is that so complicated? We came from a world of people who fought in bloody war and battle. I know people who have killed people in combat and shit. I know that people cannot continue to pretend like the world is some happy place where you just live on your pressure washed sidewalk apartment community or whatever it is. Those people who think everything's okay are living in a lie. They're living in a delusional lie because the coffee keeps flowing and the sports balls keep banging around. But the fact of the matter is that things are getting worse. And even godless, hateful people who believe in the round ball earth thing, even that idiot can figure it out. There is no denying that things are bad here and that they're getting worse. I just think that people need to know that there is an option, there's an answer to it. There's an answer to all of our problems, not just for white people or black people or Hispanic people or Asian people or Jewish people or whatever other demographic they try to put you into to divide you against each other. There is no other movement. There is no church. There is no religion. There is no country. There is no military. There's no TV show that everyone likes. The way, the truth, and the life is the only path that can bring all of us together for the greater good of everybody. To fulfill the commandments God gave us, to protect and care for the weak, the sick, the elderly, the orphans. This isn't a joke to me. A lot of people are okay with just kind of tuning it out, but I have never been able to. But I refuse to be a quitter. All these black pill people are quitters. They've decided that, no, there's nothing we can do. I think that there's a lot that we can do, and not only that, I think that we could do so much that black pill people would quit. They'd sober up. They'd say, maybe it isn't hopeless. I think people who didn't even believe in God would see the might of the change and say, I'm with them, dude. They're based. At least they're based. At least they actually do what they say they believe in. At least they actually fight for what's right and what's important, because you only get one life here. And then you're dead and you go on to judgment. What did you do? I watched Netflix. I tuned out the news. I hid in my shed. That is so pathetic. As if God did not breed us a spirit of power and of love and of hope, not a spirit of fear, right? We were made the servants of a conquering king of infinite power. Even if they killed you, you'd just be getting a shortcut out of the hellscape. You'd probably get more out of it anyway. And again, I'm not trying to say do things to get yourself killed or to kill other people. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that we are quick to stop and do nothing and to turn a blind eye as evil goes on, and as if people think that they won't be held to account for it. People really go around thinking that it's like, well, I took care of my bills and I didn't get involved in the crime. And it's like, you don't understand. You can only serve God or be against him. You are with him or you are against him. I didn't invent the standard. Jesus is the one who says it's with him or against him. It's very specific. It's not a gray area. So if you're not doing the will of the Father, at least the very first thing, what about all the other things? Like, let's say that there's the 10 Commandments, right? About how to treat one another. If you're not honoring those, then you're also not following God's commands, right? So you could say, let's get dominion, and then turn it into your own version of the hellscape it already is. That's also a failure of the commandments. So again, it's not like Jesus ever told anyone to hurt anybody. God never told anyone, well, circumstantially. We could talk about that another time. But what I'm getting at is it's time to reevaluate our purpose as believers in the world. I know a lot of people, I'm going to lose people on this. I'm going to lose people on it because they don't want to fight. They want to just sit there. But the Bible says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. It doesn't say resist the devil and then stab him in the back till he's dead. It says he'll flee from you. All of the institutions, all of the captive situations, everything going on here, If they felt that they couldn't hold it, they'd leave. They're cowards. They run away. They know that they couldn't stand it if everybody knew the truth. That's why they censor your topics on conversations on social media. It's why they constantly fill the news with fear porn and everyone succumbs to it. Because if you for a moment had your right mind and you realized, yo, God made me for a reason. I'm here on purpose. You're alive today. If it's Satan's season, you were sent here because God was like, oh, they'll do great. I'll drop you in the season and then you'll do what I want there and it'll be so great. And there's so many Christians who are like paralyzed. Stasis, like, well, I mean, I gotta make my ends meet, you know, and I get it. But how are we going to ever make it possible for people to do anything different if we just sit here and let it continue the way it is? I could promise you, like from the podium, I'm the new dictator. I could promise you that you could make more money, work less, spend more time with your family, have more buying power, have less crime, have no war. You could essentially mandate peace if you were the one pulling the strings. But you're not. We're not. And the best we have is, like, I think JT brought up Bethel or something. That's the best you get. Corporate Christians that are literally just the same thing as the rest of the mainstream world. It's lost with me. The white pill is a message of hope. It's a message of an injection of the truth, the raw, lightning through the veins truth. That it does not matter who preaches it. It is raw and real, and it is this: God has given us commands from the first: have dominion, subdue, dominate the world. All living things in the sky, the sea, and on the earth. He tells us to do that. Then he's got 10 commandments about how you treat one another. You don't commit murder. You don't steal. You don't cheat on your wife. You don't have weird idols and stupid stuff like that. I didn't write the rules. And I think those are good rules. And so you have those commands too. And you also have command of love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. And I think there's more. I mean, it could be a great Bible study. The commands of God. What did God tell us to do that we're all failing miserably at? Okay? I think that if we were doing the commands of God, we wouldn't need to worry about the means. We wouldn't need to worry about the money. We wouldn't need to worry about the fighting I think God would just deliver it because it's his original plan. Like, we always think that because the world has fallen into chaos or because Christ has come back or has come and then come again or whatever, all of that nitty-gritty stuff doesn't change who you are, why God made you, and the insistence of his commands. They never change. There's no point that I've seen in Scripture where all God says is, well, I've given you a new job, you know? Like this week, this is a perfect example. I'm sunburned to crap because I've been out pressure washing the sidewalks and everything. I brought that up earlier. My boss has assigned me this tail end of last week through this week, and I'm almost done. It's really good. I'm really pleased. It's excellent pressure washing. I joke about how I'm going to start a company called Mr. Spot. And it's like, oh, you missed a spot. Call Mr. Spot. And then I do pressure cleaning. Who knows? I might do that. If YouTube fails, you know. But seriously, my boss has assigned me a new job. And for the last week, I have been given a different command. My authority figure has commanded me to pressure wash the workplace, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing it. But at no point has my regular job responsibility gone away. As soon as I'm done with the entire exterior process, I'm gonna have to go in and play catch up so I can get everything back to my standard of excellence. I'm gonna have to catch up on a week's worth of everybody trashing everything in there. But that's the thing, right? I'm hired to maintain and clean this place. So when I get handed a new task, it doesn't negate my original task. So God made man to rule the world, and Adam and Eve sucked and ruined it. So he made Jesus not just to be the king, but to fix it so that people could be kings again, kings and priests, so that you could be made a new creation, so that the sin of your life can be purged. You can take on the new man, pick up your cross. What does it mean to pick up your cross? It means take on a task that is painful and miserable. Leave behind your own life. You suck. Do what God says you should do. What does that mean? Yeah, I see a lot of people talking about great commandments. Don't forsake the Sabbath. If you love God, if you truly love God, you'll keep his commandments. You guys are flaming. You guys are awesome. I've had this whole thing in my head. It's been really bothering me. And it's like, I don't want to say it was a vision that God gave me, but there's this idea in my mind that's called the Christian Dominion Movement. And it's like, I've been trying to not think of it or do it. Because, like, what am I going to do? Push some sort of new Christian world domination campaign? Come on. Like, it's literally like, oh, great, the cult guy. He's probably being paid by some organization. It's probably a fake grassroots rise so that then that he can fake that he was just rising on YouTube so that then when he has a controlled opposition movement, everyone will think it's authentic. It's not, though. I'm perfectly happy with the idea that everybody says, no, you're wrong, and like unsubscribes, and I just talked to like 9 people or 5 people or however many it was when I first started doing this. But I think that, well, and people are making great points, like the difference between the law, and this is not about the law, this is about commandments. Commandments are not up for interpretation, and it's not like whether or not there's no point where anyway. Thanks for that. I want to make sure I cover that too, because the law is different than the commandments. Anyway, crazy, guys. I can't believe we made it through 2 hours already. That's crazy. Hey, that's the halfway point through the week for many of you. That's that hump day. Take the white pill, guys. It's hard to swallow. It's going to be really hard to swallow, but I think that people are ready. People are ready for real, unapologetic Christianity. We're not trying to teach you who the Son of God is. You know you just reject him. We're not asking your permission anymore for whether or not we're going to mandate things on the land. You don't get to kill people. You don't get to kill babies. You don't get to traffic people. You don't get to rob us all blind. You don't get to bomb everyone to oblivion. Why is this so difficult for normal people to understand? I think it's because no one will preach it. People are scared to preach it because there's a stinger that you're going to have to do something about it. That's the big issue, right? The whole cross-carrying part of it that goes well beyond what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, for example, that you're supposed to, like, take care of your kids. There's this great, I think it's like Dave Chappelle, and he's like, I pay my child support. It's like, you don't get credit for what you're supposed to be doing. So what if you go to your job and pay your bills and feed your kids and love your kids? Good on you. That's like the very least of our responsibility here. It's like saying, well, I eat food. I don't let myself starve. What more does God want from me, you know? Anyway, I'm sure I'll cause a bunch of controversy with this thing, but I don't even care. I think that, like, if you want regular, piecemeal Christianity, there's a church in every town meeting on Sunday at like 9 and at 11, and they're going to have some boring-ass service. We're looking at the book of Acts this week, and it's just like boring, and it's just like they're not talking about anything, they're not doing anything. The blinders on to not address that there's crimes going on in their own community, but you can't do anything about it because you don't have the authority. You don't have the local judge in your church. And even if you do, you've got one judge at one corrupt, not real church. So what are you even going to do? The judge lets off a dangerous criminal. Tisk, tisk, we'll have to handle it inside the church like how we handle sexual assault. Nah. Normal people are over that stuff. Normal people are over that wishy-washy, sit around and do nothing activity. It comes down to the basic understanding that normal people are like ready to snap. Not even Christians. They're ready to snap because they're tired of endless degeneracy for no reason. And instead of having a race war or some sort of like crazy end game that is inevitably teetering towards, I'm not saying change destiny. It doesn't mean that we will succeed in controlling everything. I'm just saying we should try, right? It's the only thing. At least try to make it right and make a concerted effort to do it. Christian dominion. The world would be a better place if it was run by people who believed in Jesus and enacted that kind of policy on the world that they were controlling. Collectively, it's not like you raise one guy to be king. We already have a king. We don't have any trouble with that at all. If you want to know how it goes, just look at the king. I see some people getting infuriated because they like the idea of sitting around or they misinterpret scripture. And that's fine. I'm not speaking to you. You know what I mean? Like if you're one of those people who like basic church or futurism, or you like the kind of like sit around with your thumb up your ass on the internet type mentality, then fine. But there are a lot of people who are ready for action, who want to see change. And it's not about making your life or my life better. I'd love to have a home. I'd love to have money and free time to see my family. That's all great and everything. But the reality of it is that you will not be able to continue kicking the can down the road for much longer. The enemies of Jesus and his kingdom are building in intensity and in boldness, and the threat is growing. And so there could very well be some inevitable, unstoppable Gog-Magog war about to happen, but we don't get to live in theoreticals about what will happen tomorrow. Today is the day that you wake up and pick up your cross and go. And so what does that look like? Yes, love one another, take care of each other, be there for one another, advance the kingdom traditionally. And then we need to get organized into a big, multinational, multiracial, Christian Dominion organization, and we need to do it. It's not that complicated. There's a million ministries with all this support, and they're not even trying. So, it's controversial and threatening and irritating, and I will go out on the limb and I will be the guy that's banned from YouTube and on Kick or on wherever I have to be, and I will gather up whatever dredges from society. I will gather whatever it takes, whatever people have the integrity and the courage, whether they have nothing to lose here or whether they have everything to lose here. It doesn't matter to me. The only reason that we are actually here is to serve the Lord, choke down that white pill, become infused by the Holy Spirit, and take control. Not for me, not for you, but for the little kids, for the old people, for the elderly, and for, dare I say it, those sheep. Because Jesus is a shepherd and he loves his sheep. And those sheep don't know the damn difference between a wolf and whatever else. So somebody's got to be the shepherd. And I see a bunch of shepherds like sitting on their fucking phone. Anyway, that's not you guys. I love you. You guys are active. You guys are incredible. You guys are the little season party bus, and I can't even believe I just said all that. If YouTube doesn't get rid of me for that, it's because we're doing the right thing, right? Because I'm not here to make subs or grow the channel or get rich. I can't get monetized. I do want to say thank you to all of our amazing Patreon supporters. I have a little click here. This is as of like 2 days ago, but I did see that we got a brand new patron like not that long ago. I think her name was like Sandra or something. Bless you. Thank you for being here. Guys, this is a radical and dangerous interpretation of the word, but I believe that it is the truth. And I'm convicted in my heart that everybody's looking for a flag. They're looking for a cause. They're looking for something to get behind, to do something. Please, somebody do something. That's what everyone's saying. And I say it's time that we do something. We start now, today. We pick up the cross now and we say, look, it's crazy. But I know a lot of people are on the same page. If we were to reach the world with this message, many, many, many people would agree. Not to an act of violence or to oppression or to making people miserable or torturing people. None of that shit that they think the church is, because that's all false. Remember, foundations. It's not Catholic. Christian Dominion doesn't mean that it's Catholic. Everyone's looking for a banner and a flag to get behind. They want to do what they can. Not everyone's a fighter. Not everyone's a speaker. Not everyone's a stage athlete or whatever. The point is, we've all been given our purpose in the body of eyes and ears and hands and feet. And our strength comes in our unity together, serving the one purpose that we were all made for. If we don't know what the body is or where it is or what it's doing, we can't act in coordination with one another. Because some people believe this and some people believe that. My interest is not in convincing anyone of anything. It's in leading, like what Jesus did. Jesus didn't come here to try and convince everyone. He came here to speak the truth and to be the example. So we need to speak the truth, as scary as it is, and then we need to be the example by we need to take the land. Seize control. It's not that complicated. It's just hard. But Jesus died on the cross. He went through the hardest thing. That miserable, terrible death. He died for all of us. It means something. And I think that unless they do the same thing to me, what's the difference? Crucify me upside down because I'm not good enough to be crucified the way he was. We need to think like that, man. I really mean that. Christian Dominion Movement. Let's go. Take the white pill, guys. All right, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Main Character Podcast. I know we crossed some lines here today. I know things got a little bit out of hand, but it's the way things go. It's par for the course. It's been awesome having you guys here. If this was too much for you guys, every other week we try to change things up. We'll probably do something real lighthearted next week. That's kind of the way we do it. And then, of course, it seems like every 15 episodes I do something that would get the channel banned. So episode 44 will be chill, but 45, keep an eye out for that. Guys, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for being a part of this and helping to make this possible and encourage me to do this and, you know, buy me sunscreen, I guess. Or I guess not sunscreen. I don't want to wear that, but aloe, you know, for my already burned self. I don't know. I just appreciate it. It's a solidarity thing. It means a lot to me that you guys are here. Whether you support me financially or not, it's been really good. I'm grateful for what I believe is the best community on the internet, even if they do think we're a cult, whatever. Cult of white pill swallowing, Jesus following, dominion-minded people. That's who we're going to be. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, with all that being said, guys, again, thank you so much. This has been level 43 of the Main Character Podcast, made possible by the Cult of Con. That's you guys. I am Con Man, and thank you for being here. We will see you all next week. Sunday service is back on, so we'll see you guys on Sunday for sure. God bless you guys. Take it easy. We'll see y'all in the next one.
I'm the man, I'm the king, I'm rejecting what you think. Rearranging your mentality, got some Kool-Aid you can drink. It's a scam, it's a plan, it's a con, and I'm your man. You know I tell it like it is, I hold the secrets in my hands. Reflection and introspection is my profession. I'm recklessly disrespecting what you expect and investing in my discretion. Teaching the lessons, impressions to keep you guessing what I do next, man.
Now when the 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from his prison. He will go forth to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for the final battle, an army whose number is as the sand of the sea.
It's amazing the affirmations that come my way when I fake it until I make it. The truth is waiting, complacent organizations. They say I'm racist, they hate and they making payments on my vacation. I'm the man, I'm the king, I'm rejecting what you think. Rearranging your mentality, got some Kool-Aid you can drink. It's a scam, it's a plan, it's a con, and I'm your man. You know I tell it like it is, I hold the secrets in my hands. Reflection and introspection is my profession. I'm recklessly disrespecting what you expect and investing in my discretion. Teaching the lessons, impressions to keep you guessing what I do next, man. I'm the man, I'm the king, I'm rejecting what you think. Rearranging your mentality, got some Kool-Aid you can drink. It's a scam, it's a plan, it's a con, and I'm your man. You know I tell it like it is, I hold the secrets in my hands.